You're not stuck because of a lack of talent. You're stuck because you're trapped in repeating patterns. You wake up with the same thoughts, take the same actions, feel the same doubts, and wonder why nothing changes. But when you push yourself to break the pattern, everything changes. Your habits, your confidence, your future. However, if you don't, you remain stuck in a life that never truly starts. This is your chance to break free. In a few moments, you'll learn how to break the cycle that has been secretly holding your future captive. 1. You are stuck in loops you didn't even choose. You wake up, drink the same coffee, complain about the same things, and live the same day over and over again. The pattern you're in didn't come from your vision. It came from your comfort, from your need to survive, not from your greatness. The longer you remain stuck, the more the walls of your potential close in. The Bible tells us not to conform to this world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. That's not just a suggestion, it's a divine command. The world wants you stuck in cycles. Heaven wants you to grow. The reason patterns are so powerful is that they're subtle. There's no alarm to warn you when you fall into repetition. But that's the danger. Life becomes predictable. Predictability becomes comfort, and comfort becomes captivity. This is the most dangerous kind of failure, one that wears the mask of normal. To break free, you first have to see clearly. You must become aware of the invisible routines that control your outcomes. Write them down. Audit them. Replace them one by one with habits that lead toward vision, not repetition. Abraham Lincoln failed in business, lost several elections, and had a nervous breakdown. Many believed his destiny was one of mediocrity, but he rewrote his story. He studied hard, practiced law, and honed his public speaking skills. He changed his habits, and in doing so, he changed the fate of a nation. The patterns you tolerate become the limits you follow. The habits you accept, you become loyal to. And the moment you give your loyalty to a pattern, it starts to shape your identity. It seeps into your conversations, dictates your habits, and even reshapes your beliefs. It's no longer just something you do. It becomes who you are. The mind, that incredible instrument, starts to settle into these patterns like a cartwheel worn into a dirt path. Soon, you're no longer deciding your direction. The path decides it for you, and you, without protest, call it your life. The ancient proverb tells a truth that has lasted for centuries. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. It doesn't say, as he hopes, or as he wishes. It says, as he thinketh. Thought patterns are not passive. They are the architects of your life. They design your decisions, shape your perceptions, and govern your growth. If you continue thinking thoughts of fear, mediocrity, or victimhood, the outer structure of your life will eventually mirror that inner blueprint. And yet, many believe they are free. But what is freedom? Freedom is not simply the absence of chains. Freedom is the power to choose. If you do not actively challenge your default patterns, your freedom is just an illusion, like a mirage seen by a traveler who never leaves the desert. What most people call personality is simply a practiced routine, repeated so often it becomes muscle memory for the soul. The most dangerous phrase you can utter is this: "This is just how I am." That phrase has trapped more souls than any iron chain, because the moment you accept that excuse, you give up your authority to change. You surrender your power. You give up control over yourself. The truth is, nothing binds you more tightly than the belief that you cannot be different. To rise above this, you must challenge comfort. You must not only act, but act with intention. Intentionality breaks patterns. It creates friction where once there was ease, and in that friction, transformation begins. When you wake up earlier than you want to, you're not just adjusting your schedule. You are declaring war on your own inertia. When you choose to read instead of gossip, or create instead of complain, you are breaking the unconscious agreements that once dictated your day. This is not a call for dramatic overnight change. It is a call for disruption, to introduce resistance where you once flowed mindlessly. Growth is not born from peace. It's born from pressure. The mind must be trained like a wild horse. Otherwise, it will always revert to its base instincts. Benjamin Franklin, as a young man, saw that his life lacked order. But instead of justifying his chaos, he fought against it. He created a system of personal reinvention, 13 virtues, a daily journal, and a deliberate schedule. He made himself a subject of his own experiment, and through this structure, he became one of the greatest thinkers of his time. He didn't wait for change. He created it, and what? He refused to accept. He was no longer bound by. That is a universal law. What you permit will persist, but what you challenge starts to weaken. If you look closely at any person of greatness, you'll find a moment when they rejected the default. They interrupted their rhythm, replaced ease with effort, and comfort with awareness. In doing so, they broke the cycle. At first, your mind will resist. It will long for the familiar. It will tempt you with the luxury of doing nothing. But that voice is not your ally. It's a remnant of the old pattern, trying to keep you small. You must speak back to it with new commands. Speak discipline, speak vision, speak identity. Not as what you are now, but as what you are becoming. Ultimately, life is not shaped by what happens to you, but by what you consistently choose. And the power to choose is what gives you freedom. Not someday, not when circumstances align, but right now, in the next breath, in the next decision. The patterns you disrupt today will shape the identity you create tomorrow. Over time, your life will become the visible evidence of your invisible decision to change. 3. Change starts the moment you decide you've had enough. There's a quiet scream in the soul of everyone who's tired of being tired. It doesn't shout, but it weighs. It presses into your chest at night and greets you every morning before your feet hit the floor. This scream signals potential denied, greatness postponed. It whispers a haunting truth. You were meant for more. You feel it when the days blur together, when dreams shrink to the size of to-do lists, and when the mirror reflects a face you barely recognize. This is not mere fatigue. It is the ache of stagnation. And let it be known, change does not start with a strategy. It begins with frustration, the internal breaking point where the cost of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of change. To everything, there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. Seasons don't wait for convenience. They arrive when they are necessary, and so does transformation. Not when everything is perfect, but when something inside you decides, I can't keep doing this. What's dangerous is not failure. It's comfort in the wrong place. People endure jobs they hate because it's routine. They stay in relationships that suffocate their joy. They repeat routines that drain the life out of their mornings, not because they've chosen them, but because they've accepted them. Habit becomes a hypnotist, and many people are sleepwalking through lives they never consciously designed. But everything changes the moment you decide, no more. That act of decision, no matter how quiet, releases power. It doesn't eliminate the challenges. It lifts your spirit above them. Suddenly, the mountain you once feared looks smaller from the peak of resolve. Your circumstances may not have changed, but you have. And once you change, the world has to adjust. You don't need a grand plan. Start small. Clean one neglected corner of your space. Wake up just 1 hour earlier. These may seem like tiny steps, but pebbles can start avalanches. Movement creates momentum, and the spirit thrives on motion. Harriet Tubman was born into slavery, a world that defined her as property. But amidst chains and cruelty, she made a decision. She ran, not once, but many times. She risked her life to free others. Each journey was rooted in a moment when she said, "I will not die in this." Her transformation didn't start with freedom. It started with a decision to seek it. Her legacy wasn't born from comfort. It was born from exhaustion that turned into resolve. That same seed is within you, not the desire for escape, but the courage for rebirth. Your life doesn't have to be a slow surrender. It can be a transformation. Revolution begins within. Not tomorrow, not when things feel easier, but right now. That tension you feel, the yearning, the dissatisfaction, and the subtle sadness is not your enemy. It is the alarm of your soul, calling you to awaken. Answer it. Answer it with action. Answer it with courage. Declare quietly, "I will not continue in this way," because everything changes when you do. The first shift happens the moment you say, "Enough." With that, your soul starts its journey back to purpose. If you don't interrupt the cycle, it will determine your destiny. What you do daily is far more significant than what you do occasionally. It's not the burst of inspiration that shapes your journey, it's the consistent flame. Repetition isn't dull. It's transformative. It carves pathways into your character, shaping your instincts, your beliefs, and eventually your fate. Every action repeated is a vote for the person you are becoming. Galatians 6 verse 7 gives us unwavering clarity. Do not be deceived, God is not mocked. For whatever a person sows, that will he also reap. This is not just a law of generosity or justice, but a law governing habits. It means whatever you plant in the soil of your days, whether excellence or neglect, order or disorder, will grow. You might not notice the growth in a week or a month, but it's happening. If your daily rhythm is chaotic, the harvest will not be peace. If your pattern is procrastination, the result will not be excellence. You cannot plant thorns and expect roses. And yet, many live in frustration, not because life is unfair, but because they are reaping the seeds they unknowingly planted. The future is not built in grand, fleeting moments. It is built in the valley of small, consistent actions. The overlooked, the everyday, the unseen decisions. These are the real architects of your future. The world rewards discipline, not drama. It values persistence over performance. But change requires disruption. You can't merely hope for a better life. You must create one. And creating requires a shift in rhythm, not a revolution, but a disturbance, something that wakes you up from the automated routines of your day. Place visual reminders of your goals in places where distractions live. Write, reflect, reshape your environment. Let your surroundings become your ally, not your adversary. The brain follows cues. Change the cues, and you change your behavior. If your living space promotes laziness, it will nourish complacency. But if it whispers clarity, purpose, and intention, you will rise to meet it. Thomas Edison, once a boy written off by his teachers as too slow to learn, could have believed it. He could have submitted to the mediocrity others expected of him. But his mother refused to accept that. She crafted a new environment for him at home, one that fostered deep thought and relentless effort. She planted belief in the soil of his spirit, and he watered it with daily actions. The result? Not 1, not 10, but over 1,000 patents. The light that now fills our homes began in the persistence of one man. Edison didn't discover electricity by chance. He summoned it through effort, through his choice to show up again and again, even when failure greeted him at the door. You too hold that power, not in some faraway dream, but in your present routine. Do not wait for perfect circumstances. Start today. Start where you are. Start with what you have, because what you do consistently will shape your future experiences. Your daily choices are seeds, and harvest time always comes. Choose wisely, because destiny is not a destination, it is a direction. And direction is determined by your repeated steps. So, step forward, step daily, and step with intention. Your future is watching. You cannot create a new life with the old blueprint. A change of life without a change in mindset is simply a shift in scenery. You can pack your bags, move across the world, change jobs, or surround yourself with new people. But if your inner structure remains the same, the patterns will persist. Like a shadow, your mindset will follow you. It's not location that determines growth. It's the blueprint of your beliefs that does. Matthew 9 verse 17 gives us a powerful metaphor. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runs out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. The message is clear. You cannot pour new possibilities into an old identity. The container must be able to hold the contents. And that container is your mind. Many seek transformation, but few are willing to confront the assumptions they carry. They try to build a new life on an old mindset and wonder why things fall apart. But if the foundation you're building on is cracked, no amount of surface-level change will sustain. Who told you that success wasn't for people like you? Who convinced you that discipline was meant for others? These are not harmless beliefs. They are structural lines carved deeply into the walls of your mind. As long as they remain, they will shape every decision you make. To live differently, you must think differently, not just once, but daily. You must become the architect of your beliefs, tearing down the faulty structures of limitation and rebuilding with bricks of truth and possibility. This begins with your language. Speak of yourself not as a prisoner of your past, but as the pioneer of your future. Your words are the scaffolding of your next chapter. Next, focus on structure. Redesign your day to reflect where you want to go, not where you've been. Align your habits with the horizon you desire. Wake up with purpose. Journal the new vision. Study what builds the person you aim to be. Create rituals that reinforce your new identity, not the old one you're leaving behind. Booker T. Washington, born into slavery, inherited nothing but chains and silence. But he refused to follow the blueprint set by his birth. He chose education. He chose resilience. And by building brick by brick, physically and mentally, he laid the foundation for the Tuskegee Institute. He mentored generations not because the world made space for him, but because he made room within himself for the future he wanted. He became a leader, not by chance, but by choice. Not by luck, but by design. He rebuilt his mind to hold the vision of what was possible, and then he lived into that vision. He understood that new results require new architecture. So, if the life you desire feels too distant, do not give up on the dream. Change the plan you're building from. Examine the beliefs you've accepted as truth. Replace inherited limitations with intentional affirmations. Upgrade your internal system to match the level of life you're striving for. The future is not blocked by external obstacles. It's delayed by the internal blueprints you carry. Begin the demolition. Clear the mental clutter. Design with conviction. Remember, transformation doesn't start with a plane ticket or a resignation letter. It begins the moment you declare, "My mind must grow first." because when the mind expands, the world follows. When the container changes, it can finally hold the blessings it was always meant to carry. Excuses are the language of the old pattern. Every time you say, "I can't," you're not just making a statement. You're adding another brick to the wall that has already kept you stuck. It's a subtle but dangerous phrase because what follows, "I can't," is rarely the truth. It's an excuse dressed in logic, polished and respectable, but ultimately false. Excuses are clever. They wear the guise of wisdom and drape themselves in the robes of reason. "I can't afford it. I don't have the time. It's just not who I am." These phrases seem safe. They protect us from discomfort. But don't be fooled. They are not protectors. They are cages. Romans 1 verse 20 offers a wake-up call. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. If creation itself is accountable, so are we. The stars obey their design. Guides follow their rhythm. The trees bear fruit in season. Everything made by God fulfills its purpose. So why not you? Excuses aren't rooted in lack of ability. They're rooted in fear, and fear wears many faces. Sometimes it looks like wisdom. Other times, it masquerades as humility. But at its core, fear convinces you that staying where you are is safer than becoming who you could be. Excuses become the language of limitation. They delay decisions, drain confidence, and dim the vision God planted within you. They create a prison for your potential. But you have the power to change your language. You have the power to speak your future into existence. Replace "I can't" with "How can I?" Turn "I'll try later" into "I'll start now." Replace "I'm not ready" with "I'm willing to begin." Words aren't just sounds, they are seeds. Speak defeat, and you plant despair. Speak action, and you harvest progress. Above all, refuse to let comfort be your guide. Comfort seeks the path of least resistance, but growth requires resistance. Just as muscles grow through tension, so does character. Every act of discipline chips away at the old patterns, creating space for new possibilities. Every moment of bravery silences the voice of doubt. George Washington Carver, born into slavery, raised in the aftermath of war. He had every reason to bow before circumstance. He was denied education, stripped of privilege, and raised in obscurity. Yet he refused to live a life dictated by excuses. He walked miles to attend school. He rose before dawn to study. He turned nature into his laboratory, discovering the secrets of the peanut, sweet potato, and other crops to transform agriculture in the South. Carver didn't wait for the world to make it easy. He made it possible, not because he had access, but because he had determination. He didn't allow the narrative of "I can't" to shape his story. He wrote a new one, word by word, action by action, choice by choice, and that same pen is in your hand. You may not control the ink life gave you. You may not have chosen your starting chapter, but you are responsible for the next one. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far behind. Start now, start where you are, but start without excuse. Let your progress become louder than your past. Let your faith grow stronger than your fear. Excuses may explain where you are, but only effort will take you where you're meant to go. Write your next chapter in courage, not in comfort. Faith is the force that shatters the cycle. The cycle that keeps you small does not break by chance. It breaks by belief. Chains do not fall because time passes. They fall because someone refuses to accept them as permanent. It is not comfort that shatters limitations, but conviction, deep, bold, unyielding faith. Faith is not a soft whisper echoing in a quiet room. It is a defiant refusal to accept what is, in pursuit of what could be. Hebrews 11 defines it with sharp clarity. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Evidence, not theory, not mere hope, but evidence. A firm and unshakable stand built on an invisible foundation. The truth is, you are not stuck because of what you lack. You are stuck because you do not believe that what you already have is enough. It is not the absence of resources, but the absence of resolve that keeps you circling the same mountain. Faith is not passive. It is not waiting with fingers crossed. It is movement without certainty. It is action in the face of uncertainty. It is walking forward into the mist, trusting that your next step will land somewhere solid. Faith is not a feeling. It is a decision. You do not need clarity to begin. You need courage. Start where you are, with what you have. Say what you mean. Do what you can. Believe that your words matter, your effort holds value, and your persistence will yield results. Every seed you plant in faith pushes back against the story that says you were meant to stay small. Jim Thorpe, a Native American athlete, born into poverty in the late 1800s during a time when people of his heritage were given no room to dream, let alone to succeed. Orphaned at a young age, stripped of privilege, mocked and marginalized, Thorpe had every excuse to give up. But what he lacked in advantage, he made up for in belief. At the 1912 Stockholm Olympics, his shoes were stolen just before his event. With nothing else available, Thorpe searched through the trash and found two mismatched shoes, one too big, one too small. He stuffed a sock into one shoe, laced them both up, and won gold. He did not wait for perfect conditions. He acted despite them. He did not pray for someone to rescue him. He rose and ran, and in doing so, he shattered more than just athletic records. He shattered every expectation the world had placed upon him. His cycle of limitation was broken, not by opportunity, but by faith-fueled action. And that same power exists in you. You may not have the best tools, you may not have the cleanest start, but you have something more powerful than certainty. You have the ability to believe, to see beyond your present, to speak in defiance of your past, to move forward without a plan. Trusting that vision is enough to guide you. Faith does not wait. Faith moves. It stretches. It speaks. It acts. The cycle of limitation remains unbroken until faith tears it apart with bold choices. You want to transform your life? Start by changing your assumptions. Stop looking for guarantees, and start acting on belief. Speak as if the future is listening. Move as if destiny is watching. Live as though your very next decision will be the one that turns the tide. There is a part of you that already knows this truth. You were not meant to live confined. You were meant to break the cycle, to change the narrative, to write a different ending. But the pen is only passed to those who dare to hold it. So stand, decide, believe. Not when the stars align, not when the road is clear, not when the world agrees. But now, because every cycle ends the moment faith begins. Your surroundings reflect what you allow. Your environment is not just a backdrop. It is a reflection. It reveals what you accept, what you value, and ultimately what you expect from yourself and the world around you. The state of your room reflects the state of your inner world. A messy desk often mirrors a cluttered mind. A chaotic schedule speaks of unclear priorities, and draining friendships are not isolated problems. They are energy drainers that stunt your growth. Psalm 111 says, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly." It doesn't merely warn against sin. It warns against influence. Your counsel is your company. Your company becomes your climate, and your climate shapes your character. No seed can grow in the wrong soil, and no soul can rise in the wrong environment. It is not enough to want growth. Many people want change, but wanting without strategy leads to confusion. If you wish to grow, you must place yourself in an environment where growth is not only possible, but inevitable. That requires pruning, cutting, and rearranging. Start by taking inventory. Who in your life calls you higher? Who around you makes excuses feel acceptable? If the people you spend the most time with normalize mediocrity, soon your standards will lower to match their attitude. If your conversations are filled with gossip, complaints, and distractions, don't be surprised when clarity escapes you. Environment is not just physical, it is relational and mental. What ideas are you exposing yourself to? What content do you consume when you're tired, bored, or stressed? Your habits and surroundings speak to your future long before your results do. Rearrange your schedule. Create deliberate space for solitude. Stillness is not wasted time. It is when wisdom speaks loudest. Make room for reading, for reflection, for conversations that stretch you, rather than numb you. Design your day like an architect, not a victim of circumstance. Your calendar is your construction site. Find people who live at the frequency you desire, those who are not impressed by your potential, but committed to your progress. The ones who challenge your complacency, not applaud it. The company you keep will either propel your growth or tether you to your old self. Andrew Carnegie understood this principle deeply. Born into poverty in a small Scottish town, Carnegie didn't inherit wealth, but he did inherit access to a mindset. He surrounded himself with books, with mentors, and with people who were builders of vision. He actively sought the company of thinkers, readers, and doers. Even when he had no money, he invested in his environment. Mr. Carnegie didn't let his surroundings be dictated by his origins. He crafted them. He understood that steel wasn't the only thing forged under pressure. Character was too. He filled his life with influences that uplifted, not diluted. Over time, that curated environment produced extraordinary results, not just in wealth, but in legacy. You may not control where you started, but you are fully responsible for where you build. If your current environment whispers excuses, rearrange it until it shouts purpose. If your friendships drain you more than they nurture you, it is time to edit your circle. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. The environment you create becomes your echo. Speak focus into it, and it will return productivity. Fill it with order, and it will echo peace. Populate it with visionaries, and it will mirror growth. Shift your surroundings, and soon you will hear a new set of instructions guiding your life. Take ownership. Redesign your landscape, because the greatest change begins not in ambition, but in arrangement. And when your environment aligns with your elevation, the impossible begins to look inevitable. Now, discipline is the door you must walk through every day. Discipline is not punishment. It is preparation. It is not the heavy hand of restriction, but the guiding hand of refinement. Discipline is what takes raw, unformed desire and shapes it into something sharp enough to cut through resistance. It is the bridge between who you are and who you were destined to be. Proverbs 1:34 reveals a powerful truth. The soul of the lazy desires, but has nothing, while the soul of the diligent will be made abundant. Wanting alone is never enough. Dreams without discipline are mere illusions. Desire without effort leads to disappointment. You must not only wish for it, you must take action, and more importantly, you must take action consistently. Discipline is the ultimate differentiator. It sets apart amateurs from experts, dabblers from masters, the inspired from the accomplished. It is the key factor that turns potential into results. Many people long for change. Most dream of success, but only those with discipline are ready to pay the price in effort, time, and sacrifice. To build discipline, you need more than good intentions. You need anchors. These are the things that ground you, the non-negotiables that give structure to your days. Anchors do not float. They keep you steady when storms come. Set a fixed wake-up time. Dedicate time every day to read. Keep track of your finances with clarity. Make a habit of journaling your gratitude every night. These aren't burdens. They are tools that, when repeated consistently, form a fortress of focus around your life. The goal of discipline is not perfection, but alignment. It's about creating a life that supports your highest values. It's about waking up with purpose, acting intentionally, and ending your day with reflection. Discipline transforms your time into a servant of your goals, rather than letting it rob you of your potential. James J. Hill, the man who created the Great Northern Railway, was born in modest circumstances and lacked extensive formal education, but he had no excuses for staying ordinary. He chose a different path. With unwavering discipline, he taught himself logistics, finance, economics, and management. He read passionately, studied relentlessly, and acted strategically. He didn't inherit expertise. He built it, piece by piece, habit by habit, day by day. His empire wasn't built in a sudden burst of luck. It was built through years of sustained effort. Discipline gave him the key to an empire, not overnight, but through countless quiet nights of commitment. What could it hand you? Many people wait for motivation to strike like a sudden windfall. But discipline doesn't wait for the right feeling. It simply does what needs to be done. Discipline shows up when it's difficult. It writes the page when the mind is blank. It trains when the body is sore. It saves when spending would feel more gratifying. Discipline knows that the feeling of progress is far more valuable than the thrill of an impulse. You won't just drift into greatness. You must actively pursue it. And your fuel for the journey is daily discipline. So ask yourself, what are the non-negotiables that guide your day? What practices help you maintain your focus? What habits are shaping your future? You don't need more inspiration. You need more repetition, because the life you desire isn't built with grand gestures. It's built with small, quiet commitments that no one may see, but everyone will feel when you succeed. Let discipline be your preparation. Let it refine you. Let it shape your days, your habits, your vision. And someday, you'll realize that the price you paid was worth it, because discipline never takes more than it gives.